Hey everybody, I'm Mike,
And I'm Vic.
and you're watching METS
Matt
in
in
Florida. How you doing, Vic?
I'm doing pretty good. Good day today.
Oh yes,
Nice night.
yes. I'm feeling the fever now.
Yeah,
Sure.
that was a good, enjoying it. Now it's brand new day. We got to do it again.
Got to do it again, and we won't have certain pieces today that we had yesterday, but we're gonna. I think we could build on the momentum.
Right.
But
And
before we get into that series, we could talk about the Marlins series, the split, which is
Right.
not the ideal,
Right.
scenario. And then here's the thing, like the first game we won 10-0. Remember, we were the last video we did, it was during that game,
Right.
and it was I'm like, wow, this is awesome. But I think we should have saved some of those runs for
Yeah.
the rest of the
It
series.
seems like they've always had that penchant for having a blowout and then can't score one run.
And I'll tell you this, I granted, everyone was upset that we didn't take at least 3 out of 4. But you got to remember, the Marlins had been hot going into our series. So that's one way to look at it. But although I do feel like we beat ourselves a couple of times.
Well, I think in that series, it has become crystal clear, as far as I'm concerned, is
It's obvious.
JD, Tom Smith, they are what they are for this year here in New York. They might, well, I expect them to do better somewhere else. For whatever reason, it is not working. It's not going to work. We can't count on, they've had way too much time. And with the other guys not being hot, meaning Lindor and Alonso, they've been consistent, but haven't been hot. Nobody has been really hot on the team. Everybody just been kind of there. And some people ice cold. We have like the bottom third of the order has just been non-existent.
And that, which makes last night even more amazing, that we were able to do what we did with no McNeil, no Marte,
Right. But we've been very top heavy in our lineup. And if they don't do it, we're not scoring. So it's almost like every other inning, we have to hope and pray that they can get something to hit.
Yep.
And I think after this series, we have to make a move, whether it's calling up somebody and just seeing what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And then while you're working on a deal, but we have to act quick, because I just don't want any of our competitors to sweep in when we're twiddling on thumbs at the last moment. I mean, make a decision which guy it is, and which guy, if it seems like it's unattainable, just move on. Don't be hanging around there just move on.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And that series, this series, and the Miami series made it very clear. Like I said, the first game we were there live when it was happening. That was awesome. The second game, the Keith Hernandez game, I call it. And I gotta say, did you see the ceremony for Keith?
Yes, I did.
It was beautifully done. You could see we have a different ownership now.
Oh yeah.
It's just totally to the nines. Like, it was just unbelievable.
That was very nice to see.
It's a beautiful day. And I gotta say, the universe has a sense. I believe in the way we won that game. It's like the universe has a sense of humor. Very 86 like.
Yes.
Very game 6 like.
I remember watching that game saying, you cannot lose this game on Keith's day. You cannot do this.
And I'll say, and it's funny, people say, oh, we should have lost that game too. Yeah, but they scored on one of our errors too. So it wasn't just because we got lucky.
Right.
It went both ways. But did you hear Cohen's call when we won that on the winning run? How it sounded so much like Vince.
Yes, I did.
Because Vince says, in comes Knight and the Mets win it. And Gary says, here comes Nito and the Mets win it. I'm like, I wonder if he did it on purpose, subconsciously. But I said, everything lined up.
It's probably buried in the subconscious.
Everything landed perfectly, the way everything worked.
So while we're touching on that day, Keith Hernandez.
Yes, well deserved.
I mean, when I think of Keith, that was the first time I could actually see on the field a leader, a vocal leader, not a leader by example.
Leader.
Like a leader, talking to the pitchers, aligning the infield before we had all these analytics.
A real captain.
Our real captain. I mean, that was very apparent
Yep.
when Keith got there and his mentorship of, Daryl and other players.
There's no
And
denying it.
every time I remember during that 86 season, when there was 2 outs, I wanted Keith up there.
Yep.
And we had a lot of great hitters that year. But during the season and into the playoffs, I always wanted
Led the
Keith
team
to
in
be that
hitting and
situation.
hits and everything, clutch
Yeah.
hits.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
he
and
just,
no,
just the
I
way he
mean, cut
presented
you off.
himself, the way he presented himself and
Yeah.
carried himself, it just seemed like he wanted to be in that position.
Yeah.
Even
And
if
once,
internally he had like, as he said, you get nervous in certain situations when you're like, oh boy, I got to face this guy. But he found the way,
he did. And I
Mhm.
love about him was, even though he was the clear leader, you never felt like he was 24 plus one.
Right,
He was one of the play. He was one of the guys. He just happened to be the
right,
leader. But he took everybody under his wing. And by the way, I love in that little tribute video they did of him, I love that they included Don Mattingly, because those two owned the city
yeah, they
at
did.
that time.
Yeah, that was very nice. That
I
was
was,
very nice.
I think I loved it that they did it in a series where Don Mattingly was there.
Yeah.
I wonder if
Well,
they designed that like that
here's
too. But Don
here's a,
Mattingly was there.
here's a side note.
Yeah.
You know how there is this push now, they're talking about trying to get Keith into the Hall of Fame, which I think he deserves.
Sure.
I've always had a problem with looking at in the Hall of Fame and Keith not. Give me a break.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The Yankee fans can even jump on. If Keith can get in, that helps Don Mattingly.
Of course it does. Now
You
you
know?
got a little cut off there. You said you had a hard time looking at who and not Keith.
Looking across town and seeing Phil Rizzuto
Oh, I
in the
know.
Hall of Fame and Keith Hernandez not.
And
There's
what about
something wrong
Ozzie
with
Smith, who's known for his glove, but he was never
Glove.
really an offensive player, where Keith
That's
was
the
a
other
very
thing.
good offensive player.
And you can say, I was like, it's a harder position, shortstop. Keith redefined first base. He was so smooth.
Yeah, he was
down there.
special. He right, because his first base is known for like power
Yeah,
and just average defense, where he took
Right.
it to the next level.
right.
He thought 3 steps ahead of everybody else.
Exactly. He
It was
was always in the
unbelievable.
right place at the right time.
So you're all for him going to the Cooperstown then.
Oh yeah, I think he deserves it. I mean, if you look at it, he's a 2-time World Series champion. He has gotten a batting title. He's got an MVP. Wait, did he get a batting title? I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
He's probably always in the top 3, top
Yeah,
5.
I'm not sure if he got. I'm not sure if I'm
He's
not sure if
he's
it was
basically a
MVP.
300 hitter.
Yeah, on his MVP, we got the MVP. I don't remember if he won the batting title that
He's
year.
got
I'm not
multiple
sure.
All-Stars.
Yeah,
multiple
10
rings.
consecutive Gold
Yep.
Gloves. And I had read somewhere that everyone who's had, I think, 8 or more consecutive Gold Glove, regardless of the positions in the Hall,
Yeah.
there it is. I mean, he was, the man.
He was
You
the
know.
man. And you're right, it would help Mattingly, because there was a time where, and of course, a lot of it probably had to do with the Yankees thing and all, but
Yeah.
some argued in one point he was the best player in the game, Don Mattingly, overall.
Right. I think he had like a 2-year span.
Yeah, he
Then
was the best. So you have to
Right.
at least consider it, but Keith's got to
Yeah.
go in too, though.
Yeah. It's
I know
like Keith
Don
gotta
has
go
like,
in
what,
first.
9 gloves? I think Don is 9 and
Was
Keith
it
has
that
11.
many?
Something like that. Maybe 8 or
Yeah.
9.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but you're right. But no, totally. To me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider Harold Baines is in there. No disrespect to him, but there's some
Yeah.
questionable names in there.
Well, when you look at it, you have to think about it as, okay, sidetracking, talking about, quickly about Hall of Fame. But if you think about players, were they the dominant player or among the small group in their position during a time frame, at least 5 years, at least.
Yeah, 5's a good number.
Yeah. If you were, you deserve to be in there. I mean,
I say no doubt.
we have people who played very, Sandy Koufax.
Mm.
He didn't have a long career, but he was the dominant force for how many years? It was like 5 years.
Mm.
He was a dominant force, and he's in. So if you look at it that way, yeah, Keith has got to go in. I mean, if you're a
And-
dominant force, and I mean, not to get off track too, but even one of our own is on a cusp. I think there has to be some sort of asterisk maybe if someone's injury beyond their control shortens their career. I think that should come
Yeah,
into
'cause that,
consideration
that's different.
because that puts in David Wright. David Wright, third base, he was in the top three as far as.
Which, by the
third
way, I
baseman.
do think that David Wright should be the next number retired.
I think so too.
I think he's the, I mean, before you think of the others, he was the captain.
Yeah.
He needs to be next.
Yeah.
He
But
could have
you
been a
know,
Hall of
when I-
Famer.
Well, that's my point. I was like, he was on a trajectory to be a Hall of Famer.
You notice
That-
nobody's wearing 5 right now. You notice?
Right. But I'm saying is like that injury that he has, just, being, in the physical therapy field. I know that was like, there's nothing that he did to bring that back. It's just, it's a really bad situation and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nobody's going to be able to do what he did, so I think you have to put that in consideration and
You
other
have
players
to.
as well.
I agree.
That it's like they have, which mentioning Don Manley, same thing, back injury. He was on a
He
trajectory.
had a short career when you think
He had a short
about
career
it.
because of the back. So if you look at that way, I think, hey, 5 years dominant. Were you the top or among the top 3? If you're in the top 5, and I'm not looking at it, but a top 3 in your position for a 5-year span where you're the man or one of the men, the top guys, I think you have to really be considered.
Well, and when you mentioned the back too on a smaller scale, maybe not quite at that level, but you look at Fonzie. Fonzie was
Right.
good.
Fonzie was gypped. He was on a great run. I thought he'd play a lot longer and then.
And he could have been, he could have had a batting title the way he hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's
I'm
the
looking
thing.
at it as like, I'm not looking at it as so much guys who get injured a lot, like, hamstring here and knee
No.
here. Like,
One major
no.
thing that just brings him down.
one major.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So speaking of,
um,
no, I was going to say, speaking of, so
me
we
get-
pretty much kind of talked about the Marlins series. It was disappointing
Yeah.
to split. It could have been worse, but fine, whatever. We definitely know what we need because of it.
Yeah.
But speaking of Keith being that guy that was brought in to be the leader, I think we have one now in Max Scherzer. He's like the next, guy you get in a
Right.
guy you get from another
Yeah.
team or free agent in this case. He's taking on that role, and you saw what he did last
Right.
night. Worth every penny.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that was just, it was beautiful
Let's
to
talk
watch.
about last night.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
I mean, unbelievable. Just
Yeah.
and I know.
And what did they do last night when they scored? They moved the runners
They
along,
kind of got back to what they were doing for the first 2 months, 3 months,
right?
2 months
They
of
were
the
getting
2.5
them
months.
over. I was like, about time.
Yeah.
And the innings that they didn't score, what did they do? They went back to what they were doing for the last month,
Right.
trying to be the hero, trying to not, instead of putting the bat in the ball and making something happen, they were trying, that's when they.
He did that. Someone else did that too. Yeah. But the bullpen was great. Diaz, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like I was saying off air, a couple of people are saying you could argue that Diaz could be a Cy Young candidate if he continues to do what he's doing.
Yeah. I mean, that was amazing to see.
When was the last time you saw that? I mean,
Woo. I don't, it's been a while since I saw that. I mean, those
From a
are
Mets
3
closer?
really, those
Yeah.
are really 3 really good hitters. And what did he throw? 10 pitches?
I think
strikeouts?
11, yeah, something like
Okay.
that. A low number.
3 strikeouts. I'm like, against those hitters. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
that is
You know,
pretty
to do.
awesome. No, he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
don't
that was
have
a
him
great
today.
solid win, huh?
We don't have him today.
No, that's
So,
obvious. That's
Yeah.
fine.
So, but something, we had talked about this off air, and it was something that we had talked about Lugo not to be able to go back-to-back games. He just doesn't perform well.
No, can't do that.
And we had previously talked about Diaz off air about that. And this is the first time he's gone 3 days in a row without any let up in his effectiveness.
And Buck was saying a lot of it had to do with his low pitch count,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
So that's
and
good.
pretty much he wasn't under duress during those innings. You know, he pretty
Right.
much did his job. No, he's been unbelievable. I mean, yeah, he's one of those guys you have to consider. I mean, he wants to stay.
Yeah.
I'd love to stay here. You know,
I think that, yeah,
got some decisions to make.
you got to start with your closer and work your way down.
And I have to tell you, by the way, one positive note from the Marlins series. Can we give it up for Taijuan Walker? I mean,
Oh yeah.
talk about all-star snubs.
Yeah, he did get snubbed. That was a great performance by him. But you know what? Even though they have the schedule set, you never know. Getting closer to the All-Star game, sometimes some people change their mind.
Yep.
Sometimes people have an injury, a nagging injury, and they have to have a replacement. So he's got to be on the list there of a potential replacement. So
Yeah, because
there's still a chance. There's still you never know. There's still a chance.
And they got Boris in there, but Boris is not. You see, again, the Wilpon PTSD. The name Scott Boris shouldn't bother us anymore.
I agree with you because I started thinking, I went, oh no, Boris again. We're not going to afford it. But I'm like, yeah, I'm not worried about this.
Scherzer, hello.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not worried about this. If they want to stay,
No.
you'll stay. As long as
Yeah, we got
I think
decisions
as
to
long
make with
as-
a lot of these guys. I mean, there's no doubt.
Yeah. I think as long as the guys who really want to be here give us last crack.
Oh, I think they will. I think so.
Well, we said that about Noah, didn't we?
Yeah, it's true.
Okay. And he can
Yeah.
say everything he wants about, oh, the team was in disarray and
That's true.
whatever. I was like, and Loop to the least less extent because he was pretty much put behind the eight ball. Like take the offer or we're pulling it off.
Yeah, it's true.
So he took it. But now our front office is in line. May even get stronger at the, you never know.
Good.
It could get stronger. There's a name out there that could possibly joining this organization.
A name which will not be mentioned. Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah, so we're good. We're good there. So I think if any
If you don't want to be here, you just don't want to be here. And there's
Right.
nothing we can do. We don't want
Right.
you if you don't want us.
I think it's gonna be one of those things where we make it clear to it's like, hey, you want to shop? That's okay. Just always give us the last.
Save
if
the
you don't
last
wanna take-
dance for me.
Yeah, save the last dance. And if they're not willing to do that, that kind of tells you they're
And you
not
don't want them anyway.
Yeah, so then you're like, okay, that's fine.
Because they're not going to give you their best. Yeah, no.
I want everybody to give us the best,
Yeah, right.
You want to get paid, of course, who doesn't? But hey, you really want to be here? Give us the last chance, and then you
Yep.
make your decision,
Yep. Totally. And so we'll see what happens we have, like I said, we got a lot of decisions to make. As far as the All-Star game goes, all four guys that got there that deserve it. They're all deserved.
Right.
Of course, I think Taijuan should have been in there too, possibly one other, but no. But the fact, like I said, we're playing this Braves series without McNeil, without Marte. I don't know if he's going to be in the lineup today, but shorthanded as we are, we had to have that first game because now no matter what happens, we will leave Atlanta in first place. No matter what happens.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. But I really
I want to win the series.
I really want to win today. I don't want to leave it to the last.
You don't want to have that little second game loss like WLW. I don't want a W. I want the internet.
Yeah.
I want WWW.
Yeah. But when we start looking, I think I've heard it in a few other spots too about roster construction. We got two people on the team right now. I know it's because of injuries and stuff like that, but Inciarte and Jankowski, they're the same player.
Yeah, they are. Well, yeah. Well, Inciarte was brought in to replace Jankowski.
Right. We can't have both.
No.
And if something better, then we have to
Right.
we have to up that. It's like it's all great. I'm sure they're nice guys. Some we've met, some we don't. And I'm sure they're nice guys. But you know what? At the end of the day, we want to win.
Oh, that's number one.
Yeah, that's number one. I was like, we want to win. And And like we said, no, no, nothing against JD and Dom, personal
No, but the writing's on the
level
wall.
is just, hey, you gotta produce. Yeah, you gotta produce. And it's like, it's one of those things. It's like, I'm sure both players will produce somewhere else.
And you
And
gotta
when they
live with
do, I'm
that.
sure they'll
Like
be,
Darno,
yeah,
you gotta
it's
live
like,
with that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's
it's
like,
okay.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only time that I ever have an issue is when we rehab a guy for years and they're essentially getting paid for doing just their rehab.
Wasting.
And then when they finally get healthy, they just split. That's why it just kind of bothered me about Noah. It's like, okay, we paid for your rehab for 2 years.
I know.
And when you finally get, and we remember, we didn't have to pitch him.
No.
At the end of that year, that him able to pitch helped him to get that contract with the California.
We did him that favor. I know.
So it was like, wow, you talk about really. I even seen that somewhere mentioned that. What about trying to get Noah back? No,
No, that ship has sailed.
That's sailed.
ship
He's
has
not.
sailed.
He's not Thor anymore.
He's a clown now, if you ask me.
It's like, yeah, he's not the same Thor that he was before. He's not
Yeah,
throwing 99, 100. He's
No.
not the same guy, and everybody knows that kind of left a bad
Look,
taste in
We'll
everybody's
never
mouth.
forget you giving us our only World Series win in 2015 and the
Yep.
way you handled it and the way you handled Utley. Thank you.
Yep.
But now it's time to move on.
Yeah. It's just sometimes you just can't.
It just wasn't going to happen,
Yeah.
But we're running out of time, but we got a lot to talk about in the near future between the All-Star game, the draft, the trades,
Right.
trading possibilities. I do want to say one more thing about, by the way, Keith Hernandez. Did you ever get his autograph or meet him?
Yes, actually, good story. Here you go.
Real quick, because I want to share one too. Yep.
Okay. The first time I got to meet him was after his playing days. And he was spring training and he was doing one of the games. So they had what do you call that? The trailer where they have all the the stuff.
Yep.
And I was walking around, going into the stadium. I had gotten some autographs, and out of this thing comes Keith Hernandez, and it's just him and me. And I was like, oh boy. Now at the same time, this is when he was filming the Seinfeld episode. He had filmed
that's funny.
episode.
Yes. Right.
Okay. So I got a picture with him.
Sweet.
I got autograph on baseball, on the helmet. I got to talk to him for a bit.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I have the picture somewhere I have with him and me. And I even joked about trying to find out because that episode was the final episode of Seinfeld.
Right.
So I was trying to see
the trial. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I was trying to find out. I was like, anything you could. It's like,
on the finale. Yeah.
Yeah, you go, I can't say anything. I was like,
that's great. I'll tell you my memory. It's the first time I went. I'd been there for one game. Then our neighbor, who was like an uncle at the time, he brought me and my brother to this game to get autographs. He said, let's go early. We'll get some autographs. First time I ever went to get autographs in my life. I was like 11. First autograph I got was Roger McDowell. Then I got it. Remember, I don't know if you've heard of a guy named Steve Fry. We had him for a little while. He was from the Expos. After the game, we're standing by that fence. Finally, after about 3 hours, here comes out Keith. He signs, throws it over. I'll never forget that. So thank you, Keith, for that if you ever watch this.
Thanks, Keith, for everything.
Yes, we well deserved. And on that note, 1, 2, 3, let's
go
Mets.
Mets. Like and subscribe.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Take care.